In the last video, I talked about how mentality cooperates with senses to create perception. Today, we are going to explore cognition and the nature of knowledge. Thoughts are mental representations of physical reality in the mind, and they are the key to comprehending the world. The goal of mental development is to understand reality correctly by putting existing facts into the right context that agrees with reality. The criterion for judging the quality of a thought is the following. A thought has a value if it represents an aspect of reality. The more reality there is in thoughts, the more valuable the thinking becomes. And the reverse, the less reality there is in thoughts, the less valuable they are, the more fictitious they become. That's because thoughts are mental representations of physical reality in the mind, and if they don't render reality accurately, they don't fulfill their function. It's with the rise of concepts when human thinking really begins. A concept is a multitude of thoughts. If a thought is an individual symbol, a mental image, then a concept is a set of thoughts. A concept consists of mental images collected from personal experience, which are restructured and grouped together into greater units in the mind. A concept is a set of thoughts about a thing in which the general features of that thing are represented in the mind. A concept is about the common characteristics shared by the various examples of the one thing. For example, all the existing trees in the world can be summarized in a single general mental concept that characterizes the features of a tree. The concept of a tree consists of many other related concepts that explain it. Concepts such as branch, root, leaves, bark, forest, etc. That's how we mentally understand what a tree is. That's how we understand anything in life. That's what makes us human. Concept can have various levels of complexity, which we call abstraction. The more complex a concept is, the more abstract it is. Concepts represent a level of abstraction which is not possible for animals, because animal learning is a process of mechanical thought based on experience. An animal perceives the surroundings and learns to interact with the objects in it, but its mentality remains primitive. Animals don't think actively, they just perceive and follow their bodily needs as their main motive for behavior. Human mentality, on the other hand, can actively think in concepts and not just based on conditioned experiences. We don't just observe things passively. Our mind actively creates concepts of things. The fact that we can imagine an object even if we don't see it directly means that the represented form exists in our mind as a concept. Words are also concepts. Language is a system of symbols to convey concepts. That's why the human brain is capable of written and spoken language to meet our need to express mental concepts. Mind-blowing! The goal of mentality is knowledge. Knowledge means to understand reality by putting all existing facts into a system of thought. Of course, such a perfect system can never be achieved, something that the incomplete ideologies of world history have proved many times over. We can never possess all the facts of reality required for a perfect system of thought, but the mind always redefines its worldview as new facts are being discovered, and so it comes ever closer to the correct apprehension of reality. All thinking is valuable only if it deals with reality. If it doesn't, then illusions and fictions are the result. Without any reference to reality, the mind is left with mental confusion, imaginary whimsy, and emotionality. And how do we know that we have facts? We obtain facts through research. That's why science is important. Mentality alone doesn't obtain facts. The mind processes facts through logics to comprehend, but logics alone doesn't provide facts. Obtaining facts is the task of research because facts are information obtained through physical senses. Facts are what is conveyed through the senses, the physical reality that can be objectively observed by everyone. Once facts are ascertained, it is the task of mentality to process them through logical thinking so that further conclusions can be drawn. That's the essence of rationality. Logics is the mind's method of identifying truth. Reality is full of physical objects and phenomena, but the mind represents reality in its own mental structure. Logics is the method of making sure that the mind's mental constructions such as theories, schemes, plans, etc. agree with objective reality. When such relation is given, we call it truth. Truth is when the mind's representations agree with reality. Truth is about facts, and logics is the means of establishing a mental connection with facts. Thus, logics is about the mental laws of truth. There's always a risk that when reasoning is based on spare facts, the human mind can draw false conclusions and create partially fictional structures that distract from the truth. Incorrect inferences result from undeveloped mentality and prevailing emotionality that dominates most people's thinking at early stages of mental development. So in a nutshell, experience and research obtain facts. A fact is a mental concept based on reality from the senses. Logics is the mental mechanics of putting concepts in the right context so that conclusions agree with reality. If logics and research don't work hand in hand, then thinking starts to confuse its mental creations with facts. Logics mistakenly becomes the means by which you can delude yourself into believing that you can obtain facts of reality through thinking alone, but you can't get from mental constructions more than what you put into them. If logical thinking isn't based on facts of research, then any random propositions, statements, and mental constructs can be invented and defended with made-up arguments. In this way, pointless questions and pseudo-problems arise. If you have a strong belief system or interests to represent, you could make up any sort of logical argumentation to defend your cause and claim that this is the truth, although in fact it would not have to be true at all. The word sophistry is a synonym for the use of clever but false arguments that are difficult to recognize by people who aren't skilled in logical and qualitative thinking. Politicians know this all too well, and false rhetorics is their weapon. So be on your guard, folks, and start thinking for yourselves. Thank you. Today we talked about the nature of knowledge, that the limits of human knowledge is the limits of the mind to create concepts of things. What you cannot create a concept of, you cannot understand and recognize as such. Now that we defined quite a few things, it's time to have a look at how mentality develops and evolves over time. Important stuff. Remember to subscribe and stay tuned.
Once again.